Looking for coffee that can finally give you the flavor and experience you have been missing? Then your next coffee order should be from SeaStateCoffee.com. Sea State Coffee is premium, hand-selected, highest-grade available coffee that is roasted on order, delivered fresh to you. And right now, you can take 20% off your order by using the code GRIND20. That's GRIND and the number 20 for 20% off your Sea State Coffee order. Head over to SeaStateCoffee.com and enjoy the smoothest and most caffeinated coffee available. Start your day off right with Sea State Coffee. This week on the Route 16 Grind, we are going to have a hunting-only discussion. We're going to catch up with an old friend, and I have a fantastic interview. One that I talked about that I wanted to really get. It's, been trying to get it out, been really busy, have a lot of things to share with you, but this specific podcast, we are going to talk about hunting, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be really great. I think you guys are going to enjoy it too. I don't want to give too much away because I want to go right in the show, so stand by because here we go. Route 16 Grind, episode 37, Hunt Free!
Welcome to the Route 16 Grind, the podcast for outdoor adventurers. If you wheel, hunt, fish, overland, or are an all-around adventurer, this podcast is for you. Each week, we pour a cup of Sea State coffee and talk about informative topics, the gear, and the training that can help you have a successful outdoor adventure. We have amazing contributors and some great conversation. So, grab your cup, sit back, and enjoy the show.
What is up, everybody? It's been a minute, hasn't it? It's been a little while. So if I sound congested, it's because I am. This North Carolina pollen is absolutely getting to me right now. We have a special guest host tonight. I'm super excited about this. And well, hey, special guest host, welcome to the Route 16 Grind. Tell us who you are.
What's up, buddy?
Oh my gosh, it's Chuck.
Been a while, huh?
Yeah, man. I'm so glad to have you, dude. So glad to have you back. To say that I missed you is an understatement. It's a different show. And I know you got like a lot of special things happen in your life. I'm super excited for you, and you got your priorities right. But yeah, it's great to have you back. And I think this is going to be a super special episode, something I've been holding tight on, and I'm just glad you're here to share it with us.
Good deal, man. Yeah, good to be back.
So
we talked a couple weeks ago, and just decided to get together and do this like pre-turkey season and everything, kind of give a rundown on the past few months.
Oh, so, man. Yeah, we're going to talk about turkeys tonight.
I've been operating at 100 miles an hour ever since the last podcast. So.
Yeah, man, you got a lot of things going on, with your group that you've been, supporting, your family life, all that, and I guess also with work. So yeah, man, what's going on with like your volunteer stuff? What have you been doing there?
Trying to navigate COVID really was super interesting. Just from the standpoint of you can't do any events and anything like that. So it was really, I'll be totally honest, like I got unplugged from a lot of stuff during that time because it's very difficult for me to get up for social media events and things like that, which is probably
it's a different field.
Probably it's a negative. Other people were doing stuff and everything, but it's difficult for me. So I spent a lot of time sending emails, making phone calls and stuff like that, and trying to do stuff behind the scenes and stay active. It was a super difficult year for the groups like the Elk Foundation that relied on money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because of the banquets.
Yeah.
Couldn't run any banquets. We ended up being able to put together a banquet for the Elk Foundation in November. We had to change venues. It was a little different than usual. I say watered down. Wasn't as watered down as we were expecting it to be. We were able to generate some dollars in the auction off some stuff, sell some stuff, sell some raffle tickets and everything. So we were able to raise some money, which we were lucky. Wasn't a whole lot of money raised east of the Mississippi last year for the Elk Foundation. So. Oh
man, that's tragic, and I know all sorts of different groups that's been a hard thing with a lot of different nonprofits out there. It's been, you said, man, it's a challenge, and I deal a lot with the video conferencing and stuff at work, and it is, I get it. It's okay for certain things, but when you want to have really those exciting moments and everything, you really need to see people's faces. You really need to see the energy. It's nice to be in that type of crowd and again, to mingle.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you really want to learn about stuff, you got to get out there and get face-to-face time. I mean, it's a different feel, and I get it, man. I'm glad that a lot of these things are kind of like, starting to phase out. And just honestly, I think people are being a little bit more creative too. I know that's something that I did myself and kind of figure and navigate around it, and I've been pretty fortunate to do that. But yeah, man, turkey season, I took my son out last week, and I've been kind of off and on with social media, even with the brand, because I've been just so focused on some separate projects that I've been doing. But I want to talk about turkey. So I took my son out there, man, and we were in our blind by like 6 a.m. Sun up was at 7:01, and about 6:30, dude, it was just like, all sorts of gobbles and stuff, dude. It was like a rock show. I mean, I really felt like we were surrounded and they were going to invade us. And I'm looking at my son, Austin, like, all right, man, I have no idea what he thinks going to come from. You just got to be ready, So, but they never presented themselves. We were out there for a while. Yeah. And then there was another group, a guy that I hunt with. He was on the other separate side of the property, and he had his son out there, and they were getting ready to move, so we're communicating, and he's like, hey, man, we're going to move to a different spot. I said, yeah, cool. We made sure where everybody was at, just because of fires and all that kind of stuff like that. And all of a sudden I heard this, I'm like, oh, all right. And I'm waiting to see if like, hey, did he get one? And then 15 minutes go by, he goes, hey, got one, and this thing was a 21-pound bird gobbler. It had like a 10-inch beard. It was just under an inch of spurs. Just a beautiful, beautiful turkey, man. And this is a 10-year-old. He took about a 20-yard shot with a 20 gauge, and I couldn't be any more proud. Both my son and I were both like, hey, man, congratulations. That's awesome. And I was like, dude, you just set yourself a kind of high bar for your first turkey, dude. So, yeah, but it was beautiful, man. I was so excited for him. And
that's a big, heavy bird.
Yeah, man. And we decided, hey, we'll just come back in the afternoon. So we did. We got back in a blind about, I want to say 3:34. And we were in there for an hour, dude, nothing. And then I just thought, hey, let's go explore. So we walked around. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't even find a damn track, dude. What's interesting is the field that we have access to. So it's all like wooded, pine trees, oak, hardwoods, all that kind of stuff. But there's a huge like agriculture field there. And last year it had, corn that was already cropped up. And it was just like kind of like the, 1-inch stalk sitting out of the ground still. So it was an open field. This year it's wheatgrass. So
no dice, brother.
Yeah, man. So those like what I would normally see is like 3 different flocks crossing into the field. Nope, that ain't happening this year, man. So we got to get in the woods.
Wheat kills them, man. A wheat field is devastating to success. Because when we were in a lease, me and some buddies a few years ago, the neighboring property alternated crops like all farmers do.
Yeah.
And the years when it was a corn year, it was awesome. But when it was, because even though we couldn't hunt the field, we could get on the edge, we could locate birds, we could cut birds off, pretty reliable destination spot for them. But when it was wheat, even the guys that hunted it, their success rate was the pits, because you just can't, you can't predict them as well. They're in the woods, or they move to another property somewhere that is open, somewhere that's corn. So wheat's no bueno. I'm lucky now. I don't have to deal with that anymore. I'm hunting horse pastures and hardwoods and whatnot. But the wheat's a bummer on this cycle.
Well, this property is, fortunately, we got about 300 acres. So there's plenty of places to go. And there's this one place that, just from the last couple of years of going out there, there's a dusting area that they just all seem to navigate to at some point. And, that place always has kind of like, you can see the action there. So I think next time I go out, which might be next Sunday, I'm going to kind of go into that area. It's mostly wooded, set up and I have this wall blind that I really like, man. It looks like an oversized lawn chair when you're carrying it, but it pops out and it's a rhino blind. Really like it. It's just really easy, lightweight, and has a lot of cover. So if you find a good, background that you can get against, it's just perfect. It really is. And you're not covered, having one of those dome blinds and stuff that you can have. So there's flexibility with it that I like. And I think one of the takeaways is, you do have to carry it in, but no big deal, and whatnot.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's great there, man. And I also been doing a lot of volunteer stuff. So I've been involved in getting my village, started this community emergency response team. So what they do is augment law enforcement and emergency services for disasters and CPR support or traffic management.
Right.
And all that kind of thing. And it's just getting that off the ground. I started that through COVID. I think we were the only ones in the entire state to activate during the entire COVID thing. And it was crazy. It was hard to do. It was a challenge, but we were able to do it. And I got 13 members who are in it. And then we have 6 members who are certified to support to do, if there's a call out for CPR, the team gets an alert and says, hey, there's CPR in progress. And those members who have certified into what's called CPR pit crew training, they can go to the scene and support that role to continue to provide, whatever is needed to hopefully help this person, be stabilized to get to the hospital and all that. So really excited about that. Taking a lot of work, because if, it's kind of like what you do with your organizations too, is if you don't do it, then, no one's really going to step up. But once you step up, then you can get other people energized. So there's just been a lot of logistics involved, a lot of things dealing with the county as well as the local village, getting supplies, all sorts of stuff that people just don't think about. You got to make sure that happens, man. Hey, we need to get a trailer, we need to generate, all this stuff. And so we're able to get it, but it just takes time. And time's not a lot of things that I have right now, but, being able to focus on that. So the podcast took a little bit of a break for a little bit. Some other things took a little bit of a break. But when you're talking about a community service and, bringing out some of those positive things and trying to be that example, I think that's a great thing. We're just not talking about it. That's what I loved about, have you on the show too is, we're people that go out and do it. We don't just talk about it. So it's been really cool, real rewarding with all that. But yeah, man, we got this great interview tonight, man, that, I probably don't want to get ahead of ourselves and all that, but I'm just glad that you're here this is one thing, y'all, that one of the reasons I really wanted to do this show, and I was kind of waiting for Chuck, is this. I think it's one of the most special interviews that I've had on this podcast, specifically with this specific hunter. And I can't wait for Chuck and I to discuss it and all that. But yeah, man, I'm really glad that you're here to kind of share that with me, man.
For sure, man. Well, it's good to be here.
Yeah. Hey,
appreciate you having me.
What, as far as your turkey season and stuff, or when are you kicking that in full gear, man?
Well, I was supposed to go Saturday and film a youth hunt for a father and son.
Right.
But ended up that was hinging on my ability to go crappie fishing Friday. Well, the weather didn't play out Friday for me to go crappie fishing, so I went crappie fishing Saturday instead.
Oh, okay.
And I honestly probably should have went turkey hunting because the fishing was terrible. But Saturday, me and the wife will be in the woods waiting on the sun to come up.
Right.
And then it's pretty much all downhill from there for the next 30 days until the season goes out. Changed a lot of plans. Was originally supposed to hunt South Carolina this year. Tried to put together an Alabama trip, but just didn't shake out. For the amount of vacation that I had and everything that I was doing and had going on, it just didn't make sense for me to drive to Alabama for just a couple of days. So
right.
Ended up nixing that, but got Drew out for a permit hunt on DuPont State Forest. So I'll be hunting up there for 3 days. And after that, man, it's pretty much staying local, except on Fridays. I'm working 410s now. So on Fridays, I'm going to try to burn up some game land, some national forests, stuff like that.
Yep.
Save the turkeys around here for the wife and my dad. whoever else wants to come.
Yeah, I have a permit hunt, I think, next week with my son and I on Sandhills Game Land. And then we're going to go out Sunday. So Sunday morning, Saturday, I got an event out at Uwharrie. There's an event that True Patriots putting on, nonprofit, that helps a lot of veteran organizations. They got a lot of different veteran nonprofits out there. And it's going to be really cool. We're going to have a great raffle booth and all that kind of stuff, raise some good money for some great nonprofits and all. But so Saturday's it's out at Uwharrie. I thought about, hey, if I get up early enough, I can go. It's just too many things, logistics, especially if I do get one. It's just, I want to enjoy it. I don't want to rush it, is probably a good way to say it. And I want to feel rush when I'm in my hunt. So I was like, you know what? If I can't commit to it, then I probably shouldn't do it because, you could short step yourself. You could try and rush. You make some poor decisions. And, and if maybe I ruin something for me, but I could also ruin something for another hunter by just, my own actions and stuff like that. So I don't want to do that. So yeah, Saturday's kind of off, but Sunday I'm looking at where we're going to get up early, get out. We'll go to the probably same property that we hunt traditionally at. And I tell you what, man, that property is coming along, dude. We did a lot of food plots. I put in some deer turnips, and those things kind of came in, and they're starting to come back in right now. I think we're gonna do some other areas. We're looking now. We have that large field. We're looking at putting up some permanent stands, elevate stands, and we'll have like good range to where we could potentially do like 500-yard shots and stuff, man. So I'm really excited about that. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it's just a lot of conversation that we had, things you've shared, directions you have pointed me as someone that just got back in the hunt a couple years ago. I mean, yeah, man, I really appreciate it. And I can say through your mentorship, I have become a better hunter, and I'm able to share that with like my son. So I really appreciate that, man. And that's really what a lot of this is about.
Right. Oh yeah, man. It's getting out and about, enjoying the time and being smart when you go out. My life still it revolves around being outdoors.
Yeah.
It revolves around hunting and fishing, and that's all about to change soon, but I'm going to enjoy it while I can.
You know what? It gets better, man. It gets better.
Yeah.
It gets better, dude. I can't wait to see that part of your journey with you and your wife. I'm excited about it for you guys. So you know what? We probably should go ahead and get this interview. Y'all, I'm telling you, definitely, this is one of those interviews you kind of want to be someplace where you feel you can get the whole thing. I understand that, like, when I listen to podcasts, I'll sometimes listen to a little bit of it. I'll go to work. I'll come back. I'll play what I'm picking up from, or where I'm picking up where it left off at, and then I'll play the rest. But this is one I think that you kind of have to commit to. You definitely want to hear kind of the whole thing. You don't want to miss something. You may want to go back. I think this is one of those special interviews, and I really hope you enjoy it. And so I'm going to roll that. And then, Chuck and I are going to go ahead and make some discussions over a cup of Joe. When you hear the calls, you know we have a report from the field. This week we have a special guest. She is a hunter, or I should say huntress, from North Carolina, who I've been hoping that would come on and share her hunting experience from this past deer season. She shared a little bit of her story on a North Carolina hunter's Facebook page, and I was impressed to say the least. So I reached out to her, invited her on the show, and here she is. Marissa, thank you so much for joining us here on the Route 16 Grind.
It's Marissa Godfrey. I want to thank you for having me on here to share my experience with hunting.
Yeah, you have a great story you shared on Facebook, and I really think it's something that, other hunters and huntress can definitely listen to. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little about yourself?
I work full time. I'm a mom. I know it's a lot to be a mom and be a huntress at the same time. We work all day, and then we get off, or we go hunt, and then we come home and we cook, and it's a lot. It can be a lot sometimes, but it shows a lot when you put a lot of work in the field, especially when you finally reach in and get that moment that you've been grasping for.
Yeah. So when you talk about handling all this, you got the job, you got the mom responsibilities, and then finding that time to hunt, and it isn't simply just, all right, I'm going to go and sit in a field and
shoot the first thing that comes out. There's a lot of preparation. So tell us about your preparation and balancing all that.
It's funny that you asked that, because we usually get started about a couple months before deer season, where we go out, we put out corn, and we make sure all the stands are okay and everything's strapped in the way it needs to be, so everything is safe. We look at our safety harnesses, our gear, and then, of course, deer season comes in, and when you're a mom and you're holding down a job and you love to hunt, it becomes extremely hard, and I have an amazing boyfriend that stands behind me on all of that. He totally supports me. He hunts as well. He knows that bow season is my season, and usually at the beginning of bow season, I'll hunt through the whole bow season, usually before work and after work. I'm a very aggressive hunter at that. I go in, I'll go sit in the stand, and my stand is about 6 minutes away from my work, so I'll dress for work and put my hunting clothes over it. And then if I don't see anything, I'll go to work, and if I get something, then I'll usually call in and go into work later.
Well, that's pretty nice right there. I like that. That's pretty good place to work at, supporting you to being a huntress as well. They
do support me a lot. All the people that I work for, they love hearing my hunting stories, and it's really amazing to have such a supportive group behind you with my boyfriend and my job. They know that it's something that I have a deep passion for. My family is not a hunting family. My uncle, going over there through the summers, he passed away from stage 4 cancer about 3 years ago. He was like a father to me, but he's who got me all into it. And though I never hunted with him, I got into it really deep, and I got me a bow one day, and I said, hey, I'm just going to shoot this bow in the yard, just target practice. And I was married at the time, and the gentleman I was married to, he didn't believe that women should hunt or fish, and we ended up getting a divorce and all that, and I ended up meeting my new boyfriend that I'm with now and I've been with for 6 years, and he's all about it. He's like, yes, women should hunt, it's great, and I'm completely happy that he's supportive of me. I just want, women to know out there that just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you can't hunt. That was my biggest compassion, was that I've always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to hunt. I've always wanted to have that successful moment. And this year I was actually able to reach that moment, which was so grateful to me.
So let me walk back a tiny bit here. You shared the influence of your uncle. You shared where, hey, you just like, I want to get a bow, want to try that out. But what was that real trigger that you said, you know what, I want to get into this, is something I want to commit to? Because you know this from just being a hunter yourself. There are people out there that they hunt more for the gear, and every now and then they get in a stand. But then there's the hunter where you're like spending weeks and all this time to do all your scouting, all your preparation. I mean, that hunting that what you do for hunting, I feel like anytime you go out into your area, you're always scouting. It's a continuous thing. But where was that moment where you're like, I'm going to make that commitment? Where was that?
The moment was about 2 years after me and my boyfriend were together. We hunted together a couple times for the 2 years, and then I finally really got into it 1 year when I finally shot my first cow horn spike. It was with a 243, and it was just a spike, but you know what? It was my biggest spike. It was my biggest deer I ever shot. And I want people to know that just because it's not an 8-pointer or 10-pointer, it's still that great moment that leads you to that point.
Heck yeah.
And the day that happened, I cried, and I didn't cry like I was sad. I cried in tears of joy because it was a very exciting moment for me. It actually happened one morning. I went hunting before work. Like I said, I hunt before I go to work, and I hunt after work. And it was in that moment that I realized this is what I want to do. And I actually ended up giving that deer to a family that needed meat for their freezer. They just needed meat to live off of. And the moment that I saw the gentleman come to our house, and he was in tears, and he was so joyful to have it, it was very exciting. And I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to be able to get a couple deer for our freezer because we live off of the land. And I want to be able to at least give a deer or two away to families in need. And that moment that I did that day, I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. And even if it's not for me, it's still helping me reach my goals into getting what I want to out in the field, whether it's my first bow kill or my first big buck.
Right. And just, I don't think there's a hunter out there that didn't have a tear shed on that first, harvest, especially with deer. Hell, I remember when I really like turkey season too, but I remember taking my son turkey hunting, and he didn't get a turkey this last harvest or this last season, but he was all the way at the point. He just missed, but I was so impressed. I mean, I was kind of just like, man, all that discipline that it took for him to get to that moment, and, didn't close the deal, but it wasn't even that. It was that whole experience that got there. He'll get one this year, no doubt, but it's all those things coming together, and it's that whole experience. And then when you do have that harvest, just all those things, that appreciation for the animal itself, like what you're saying, providing a substance to a family. And that's just a wonderful story. And I mean, that is great. And I think that's a big part of why a lot of hunters do get in. It's not, I think people will wrap themselves around when they talk anti-hunting, that wrap themselves so much around the kill, and they don't understand the experience. I mean, you're creating independence is a big one. And I think that's one thing that is missed too. And for you to, and I'm not saying it like this, but for you to be a woman and to be able to go out there and be confident that, hey, I can go out there and do these things too. That's awesome. You are an example for other women, other young girls to go out and look at and say, I can do that too. Nothing should limit you just because you're a woman.
Exactly. And, there's many times where me and my boyfriend, we're like, hey, no, you go today and I go today, or, we take turns, and that's a big part of it. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It matters that you get out there and you do it. You show your compassion behind it. And this year was a really big year for me. I finally got my first bow kill, first bow harvest, shall I say, and I finally got my first big buck. I'm not a antler or a trophy hunter. I am a meat hunter. So my boyfriend calls me a spike slayer, which most people do not approve of. But again, I'm a meat hunter. I don't care for the trophies, because ever since I had that experience about 3 years ago where I was able to provide for the family that I was able to, and it made them super grateful. I've lived like that. I hunt as I hunt, and, meat is meat. And if I can provide a family like that, I can. But this year I've literally put in so many hours in the stand, and it is exhausting, and it breaks your heart when you go out there every day. My boyfriend was so excited for me, and he's always shares a compassion for what I do, and he does it as well. But the point behind it is no matter how many times you go and sit in the stand, like me, for instance, in the morning, whether it's that hour before work or that hour after work, the moment that it finally happens and you realize, for me, it took me 5 years to finally get my big buck that I got this year. It took me 5 years to get my first bow harvest. And I would go out on my lunch breaks and put out corn. I'd walk 400 yards with a 60-pound bag of corn on my back just to put out corn, just to make sure that my buck scrape was active and it was being used, because that's something that I tried different this year to help me. And I believe firmly that it did help me. That was one of the things I think that did help me. But after all that time that you put into it, and then it finally all comes together, you're just so blessed. I spend so many hours praying in the stand. Lord, please just let this moment happen. I pray every time I go to the stand. I just pray for my family and our country and everything. I'm just so grateful for. And that is my time in the stand. As a mom, that is my getaway time. It's not shopping. It's not grocery shopping. It's in the stand.
I love that. And you do. For me, I mean, I find such a peace out there too. And it's good. Like I love going hunting with my son, but there's also those times where you're just going out solo. there's a different level of peace and just that connection with nature that you're able to achieve. And again, what I think I love about it is every time you go out there, it's different and there's a challenge. And regardless if you harvest or not, you learn something from that experience.
And it is different. This year I've learned, there's certain things you learn from different stories that people tell you. Like if you hear squirrels barking in the tree, usually something's coming. Well, the past 5 years I've never paid attention to that, but I've listened to an older gentleman. And some people, they say, oh, it's folktale but I've listened. And every year when I go out in the stand, I sit there and that's all I do is listen, complete quietness. And as soon as the birds start going, more than likely at my stand, this is how it works, not at every stand, because every scenario is different depending on where your land is and how it is. But at my stand, usually, when the birds start going and the creek gets louder, usually that's when I see something. And if I see that it is a takeable harvest, then that I will take the harvest. But it does take a lot of experience, and over the past 5 years, I can say I have gained a lot of experience through grunt calls, through active scrapes, through what I wear, the type of equipment that I use. Most of all, that's really guided me through this, like I said, was my uncle. He's the one that inspired me. Though I never hunted with him, we walked in the woods, and he showed me his stands, and I was like, I really want to do this one day. But then when I started hunting with my current boyfriend, that we've been together for 6 years, he was very supportive of me and was like, you know what, you do you. I'm glad that you're doing this. There's not a lot of women that do this, and I want you to do it. And I'm so blessed and thankful for that, because there's not a lot of people that actually get that. And being able to go out and do that, it's really amazing. I'm so blessed.
So, Marissa, I'm going to kind of put you on a spot here. So if you're that new huntress that's going out there, what is the top 5 things that you would want to tell her and say, hey, if you're going to get in this, these are the top 5 things I want to share with you? What are those things that you've learned from all these years of hunting? What are those that you wish you could have told yourself the first time you weren't in the stand?
That's a tough one. Through the past 5 years, I've heard a lot, but you want to always have a strong head of going out there. Like we said earlier, it doesn't matter if you do not get a harvest. It will happen eventually. Like I said, it took me 5 years to get exactly how I wanted it, and it was such a great blessing. Don't ever doubt yourself. You can never doubt yourself. Go out there with a strong head, put the time into the stand. If you think something's going to work, whether it's a buck scrape or a doe urine, try it. I've tried many. I've had many people tell me that it's not going to work, or, if you believe in it, then you believe in it. I sit in a poplar tree, which, by the end of bow season, it has no leaves. So you want to actually have a good camo that you use. I use Habit, which is Real Tree Edge. But again, I usually get my stuff on sale. I'm a cheap hunter. I don't wear Sitka. I don't do the expensive hunting. I can't afford it. I'm a mom of 2 kids, and I have a full-time job, and, I live based off that. I don't live above my means. And when it comes to hunting, I wear cheap camo. I don't want, a new huntress to think, oh, you got to have all this expensive camo, because most people think that you have to have that, but you don't.
No.
You don't have to have that. I have a gun that was given to me from generations ago, and it's a 243, and it's got a shotgun scope on it, and I'm the only one that can shoot it just perfectly at 300 yards with a shotgun scope. And I will never change the scope on that gun, because I believe that is what makes my hunt successful, is that I'm the only one that can shoot it great. So go out there and believe in yourself. Don't ever doubt yourself. If you think something works, use it. Your camo, don't ever doubt your camo. It may not match. It may not be great. It may not be top of the line, but if that's what you can afford and you can do it, use it. I've been out there many types of stuff, and as long as you sit still and you believe, and like I said, I'm a big prayer, and I believe in the Lord, and I believe He blesses us when we're ready for it. So just go out there and believe in yourself. You can do it. Don't ever let anyone bring you down about what you're wearing or what you're using or what type of gun you're shooting, or even if it's a bow and you're bow hunting. You know, if you believe in it, then you can achieve it.
I love it. I think that's some fantastic advice for all hunters. I think, you know, you have to get out there. If you want to get better, you got to get out there. And everything you're saying, I just love what you're sharing with us here. Now, as far as, you know, other game other than deer, do you hunt any other game?
We do coyote hunt and hawk hunt.
Okay.
We do that. About 2 years ago, I killed about a 350-pound sow. It was my first one, which they said, wow, you went out with a bang. I ended up shooting it with my 243, which is what I call my old reliable. So it's funny because the big buck I shot this year, the morning I used my 30-06, which was new, and I had already sighted it in. But I had missed a doe that morning, and not a lot of people talk about missing deer. That's the biggest thing that really brought me down in hunting, was a lot of people not talking about, oh, I missed this deer, oh, I missed it. And I'm like, okay, so you have to shoot it or you don't. And so it was the day before Christmas Eve. I shot my 30-06. I missed a doe. It was about 10 after 7, actually, about 50 minutes before I had to be into the office. So I knew I'd have time to go home and clean it right quick before I went in. Like I said, I'm an aggressive hunter. I hunt before I go to work, and I hunt after work.
Right. That's good. Yeah.
So I try to do what I can, especially when it's cold. You know, you can at least get the dressings out of it and leave it hanging while it's cold. So I missed that morning, and my boyfriend laughs at me till this day, but I told him, I was like, look, you do realize the night before Christmas Eve, I saw a shooting star on my way to the stand that morning, and it scared the crap out of me. I was scared to death, but I wished on it. I said, Lord, you know what? I'm just going to do something crazy because people don't wish on shooting stars. I said, just give me a big buck this year. That's all I wish for. I've already got my first bow kill in, which is everything I've prayed for the past 5 years. I said, so I'm just going to wish for a big buck. Well, that morning it didn't happen. That evening it didn't happen. Well, then the next day was the morning before Christmas Eve, and I missed a doe, and I was like, okay, we're getting ready to have Christmas Eve off and Christmas Day off for work, and I already know what I'm doing. I'm hunting.
Right.
So, and I take my kids with me, so they're going. That's their Christmas too. So
there you go. No, it's good for them too.
And I was like, you know, I mean, who wouldn't love a big buck for Christmas? So. And I was like, okay, so this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go to work, and I missed. And this is another thing that I know it's maybe religious or people don't believe in it. But, you know, that day at work, I was standing outside for a minute because I load 53-foot trailers at work. I load them by hand and that kind of sorts, and I'm customer service. But, you know, no matter how hard you work at work, if you still put time in is the thing that I'm getting at. No matter how long it takes, when that moment finally comes together like it did the night before Christmas Eve for me, that was all that it took to finally, like, hook me and sink me in as a hunter, like, yes, this is your success. You finally did it.
Right on.
But the day that I walked out there, I just walked outside on my lunch break, you know, just walking outside. And I saw a white feather floating, and they say, you know, a feather that is white is from the Lord. And I walked in, and I always tell people, I always preach at work. I'm crazy like that. I'm your Southern girl. I said, hey, you see this white feather? I might have missed this morning, but the Lord just sent me a white feather, so tonight it might happen. Well, that night it actually happened, and I finally got my 9-pointer. I'm no longer a spike slayer.
There you go.
And so so everybody at work got a text message and a picture that said, yes, I finally did it.
Awesome. That's great.
And it was great. I had a woman at work. She was like, I knew that feather was going to be good buck when I saw it. So, like I said, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to keep you or anything.
No.
Like I said, you know, no matter how much time you put in, I cannot. I've actually cried in the stand because I didn't see anything. And, you know, as a young hunter, even if you're a child, I could imagine as a child as it being like a feeling of unsuccess.
Right.
Because you're trying to impress your parents, or you're trying to. My parents, on the other hand, they don't even really care for deer hunting. They're more of the fishing, which I do both. But they don't really care for the deer hunting. And so, but my uncle, who partly raised me, he does. And I knew that he would be super proud of me.
No doubt.
The moment that I finally shot that 9-pointer, which I didn't know at the time was a buck, because I didn't see the antlers. I just saw the big body. And then it happened as we walked up through the woods, and my boyfriend was like, yeah, you got it. He actually had pneumonia for 4 weeks. And I called him out of bed, and he came up on the floor and said, hey, babe, I got you.
That is awesome.
It's very hard to do, and it's different, you know, and it's just great. It was a really great year for me this year.
I like the fact that you're not so wrapped around the fact that, hey, because you're trying to put, you know, meat in the freezer. You're looking to support families who, you know, need that protein for their family and stuff. And, you know, my son, he picked up a button buck this year. It was his first one. It was we went to a place off on the coast, and it was the only deer we saw the entire weekend. The only deer. And it was like literally right before sunset. It couldn't. I was like, man, hey, I thought it was a doe initially. So, hey, go ahead. Let's go ahead and take the shot. And he used his rifle, and he has a 6.5 Creedmoor Savage, and he took about a 150-yard shot and knocked this thing down. And the guy came out there and checked on it, and was the button buck. And I was like, man, hey, you provided, you know, meat in the freezer there, and that's a great thing. And I'm not much of a trophy hunter as well. It's not really my focus, but I used to have a host on here, Chuck, and I think I tell this story every podcast nearly, but Chuck really kind of threw some insight for me about the whole trophy thing. And with some people, just when you get that mount and you put it on the wall, you're experiencing all those things as a memory, kind of like when you look on a picture and whatever. Not, and so I never really looked at it like that until he shared it with me. I don't see me having a garage full of mounts, to be honest with you. It's just not my thing, you know.
Me either.
But
I don't see me having that either.
But it made me appreciate those things a little bit different when he shared that with me, because, you know, I think we all capture memories different in our own little way. I will tell you this, my very first turkey, dang right, I got the fans mounted in my garage, man. That's a crazy story, but yeah, I was so proud of that thing. But I love the fact your focus on that, and just the respect for the animal, and just the amount of dedication, commitment. I mean, I think that's one of the special things with moms too. You guys know how to multitask like nobody's business, and you can run that schedule and do like. I try and do my wife's job. Can't do it. Nope. Hardest job ever. Can't do it. And, you know, she does it. It just comes together, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is great. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's a buck or a doe or a button buck. My first deer was a spike, and it was the greatest thing ever.
Right.
I actually went hunting with my Uncle Bill from the beach, and it was great. I actually had a rifle, a shotgun, and my bow, because I was shooting my bow, and I said, hey, I really want to shoot my bow. He said, girl, you ain't going to have time to shoot your bow. We're running dogs, and some people run dogs for, depending on where you live, you know, you can run dogs for a deer and all that.
Right.
And I was like, well, I really want to shoot my bow. I've been shooting my bow for like 3 years in the yard. I know I'm good at it. He said, no, you're not going to have time for that. And I said, okay. And so we actually pulled to a spot around one of the blocks, and he said, look, a deer's going to come out here if they're going to come out. And so a deer actually came out. It couldn't have been more perfect timing. And even though it was a spike, it was my first deer. And so that's what I want to encourage people on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a huge deer or a doe or a spike, because if it's your first deer, it's great.
Right.
And, you know, in the many years that I've hunted with my boyfriend, we've had some great experiences together where he's walked up on my Calhoun spike. That was my biggest spike ever. It was a spike, but it was still a spike, but it was so great, and he knew that it would make me happy. So he actually fooled me, and he said, I don't know where it is. He said, you might need to keep walking forward. And so I kept walking, and then by that time I turned around, he was looking at me, and he had already saw it, and he knew that I was going to start crying over it, which I did, because it was a great achievement for me. And just like this year with the 9-pointer, he walked up, and he was like, I can't believe it, you done killed a big one. And I was like, dude, what? I didn't even know what it was. And when I walked up on it, of course, I started immediately bawling like a baby. Because this is all, I mean, I've tried so hard for 5 years. This is what I've worked hard for.
It just all comes together.
Yeah, like I literally, people don't realize how hard you work for it. My boyfriend does, because he knows. He knows how hard I work for it. Like, I literally will hunt, even if it's just for 30 minutes if I'm running late for work, or I'm getting the kids on the bus. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. Like, you know, you are a mom, or you are a dad. You might be a single father, and you might put your child on the bus at 6:30 in the morning. You still got that 20 minutes to go before, you know, that's how I am. I still got that 20 minutes to get to the deer land, which thankfully my deer land's only about 15 minutes from the house. But so if I put my kid on the bus and I go to the hunting land, I wait for a certain amount of period, and if I don't see one before a certain period, then I just don't shoot. I'll sit there and I'll watch, because it gives me guidance onto when they're coming out, what time they're coming out. Okay, this is what time they might come out on a Saturday when I'm not working. And it just gives you so much guidance as you learn over the years, because over the years you just learn more and more and more, whether it's a call, it's a doe or buck urine that you use, or it might be, you know, if it's a bow or a rifle or the camo, all the time that you put in, when it finally locks in together on that moment, like I've had this year. 2020 has been a rough year for everybody. But as far as hunting season go, I have sincerely been blessed by the Lord to get my first bow harvest and my first big buck.
Love it.
I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you know, Marissa, I mean, where can people, if they want to follow your experience, they want to reach out to you, if they want some, you know, maybe they want a little bit of mentorship, where can they reach out and where can they find you?
My name is Marissa Godfrey. That's MarисsaGodfrey. Currently, I have a picture on Facebook of me and my big 9-pointer. I'm wearing a hot pink toboggan. Preferably because men don't believe that you should wear hot pink while you're hunting. I killed that buck with my hot pink toboggan.
Dude, you hunt and blaze orange. I think you can wear anything.
That's right. I still wear my orange vest. Yep. But I wear a hot pink toboggan. Right. And I do not wear a hat over it because double hats are bad luck, I believe. That's what I've experienced. So if you want to follow me, Marissa Godfrey is my Facebook. I will send you some more information on my Instagram. I do currently have a TikTok, but I'm not big on it currently. But I hope to be as far as hunting and fishing. I am a commercial fisherman. That is what I do in my spare time. I pick oysters. I commercial fish. I'm a slender jiggerman. I go to the coast a lot. That's where my parents live, and I'm thankful for that.
Whoa. Okay. Let's talk about this commercial. You can't end like that. Like, oh yeah, by the way, a commercial. No. Let's talk about, we mean commercial fishermen. What are you talking about? Tell us more.
So actually me and my boyfriend are commercial fishermen together. He has a license, so I technically fish under him, but we commercial fish for flounder and trout, and we also pick oysters. It's just something we do as a hobby and as a side gig that we do. We enjoy it. We mainly do it because we enjoy time together on the water. There's actually some people out there that do it as a lifestyle.
Right.
For living. That is how they live, is they are commercial fishermen. So I hope to be able to share more stories of that with you. Currently, I have not been able to go this year, but in a few weeks, hopefully we'll be able to go. I've been really slam-packed with work, and finally hunting season's kindly calmed down.
Right.
Turkey season's coming in, which I've told my boyfriend we have 58 turkeys in my field on both sides. So I would like to get my first tom since I have about 30 in the field.
Oh, I love turkey hunting. Love it. Love
yeah,
it.
I haven't done it yet. We've been together about 6 years. I told him, I said, look, if I can sit on my bottom on the ground and I can shoot 60 yards dead bullseye, I will be gladly to wrap the pink stripes on my bowstring in black electrical tape and take one. Bye-bye.
Yeah, they see 50 times better than us. They see very well.
They do. They do. I've been in the stand, and I've had them come up on me, even in a full-fledged camo leaf suit. And, anything they see. I think it was my earrings that day that gave them away. So anything slight, I will say, if you are turkey hunting, I've never been, but they are very cautious and they see everything.
I love the approach. So when you get them calling in and that tom, you got your decoys out, maybe you got a hen out there and you got maybe a jake out there, and that tom's all like, what? And he's walking up on his lady and he's bringing his harem and he's putting on his strut and his dance and fan out. I mean, that right there, it is nature in action. It's like watching that show. It is just amazing to watch that whole approach, and then it's just like, deer hunt. Now you gotta take my breath, gotta take that, pause and just kind of, get that right ethical shot in and take that time. But I will say my first turkey, it was literally, I was driving my Jeep going to a new position and this gobbler ran in front of my Jeep. And I got out and I was actually going to go into the woods to go find it. And as soon as I got out, I was putting my hood back on, because I learned from deer season when I was actually hunting the same property. I took a rifle, or just with a shotgun, obviously. But hey, keep it available because an opportunity might pop up when you're moving. Like I'm moving position in my vehicle. And this thing ran in. It's like, oh, so I was ready to put it on. And as soon as I was leveling to move into the woods, it ran back in front of me. It was about 20 yards. I took the shot right there. And I was like, yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah. It's like, so yeah, you never know. But I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's a different experience than sitting in a stand. It's a lot more back and forth. And sometimes they'll gobble back at you. They just ain't going to come in, and you got to learn. It might be a different flock.
Yeah.
And there's so many things involved with it. But I want to go back to the commercial fishermen. Anytime you talk about turkey, I'm going to jump right into it. It is what it is. I think I talk about turkey every show. but on the commercial fishing thing, hey, what if somebody was interested in hiring y'all? How would they do that?
Again, Facebook, Marissa Godfrey or Bradley Steele. We do some guides where we take people out, and a lot of times we'll take people for free, or we'll just take people out for a very low amount of cost. It's not anything at all. We're fairly new to it, a couple years, but we have taken a couple people out, and they've definitely enjoyed it. Again, as far as this year goes, we've only had... They've changed commercial fishing as far as flounder goes for the last 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's different than it was last year. And the size limit has went down. And so when you're being particular, it can get very particular. But we do a lot of that, and it's great. I hope to eventually get more videos and footage out of us doing commercial fishing because I think it would be great. My boyfriend has his captain's license, so he can do guides, and he's a great guide. We also do bow fishing, where we bow fish. We were North Carolina state champions for 3 years in a row for bow fishing. And
Marissa, why are we just now covering this? This is some good stuff. You're like, oh yeah, I was a state champion bow fishing.
I keep giving you to a different. I keep adding you to a different thing every time.
Oh my goodness!
We really do a lot together, which is really great. A lot of relationships don't have that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of men are like, "Oh no, I'm going out to do my thing," and that's one thing that I'm really blessed for is that he's like, "No, we are best friends. This is what we do together. And there's some people out there that actually want that and don't have it. And, you know, you can have that, and we have that, and I'm so thankful for it. We both fish a lot of tournaments, like I said, not this past year, the current one, but 3 years prior to that, we were North Carolina state champions for 3 years. And it's something I'm grateful for. We worked really hard for it. We both fished every other weekend. This was before we got into the commercial fishermen, so we're kind of less on the bow fishermen now, but we still do it, and we love it.
I've never been. I might have to take you up on it. Never been bow fishing.
Yes,
I mean, I was like,
definitely.
I was like, that'd be something cool to do. But I think there's certain things you're like, I'm one of those people. I like to have some instruction, some guidance. I don't mind figuring things out, but I know the experience will be much better if you're actually doing the right thing instead of doing the wrong things off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we've taken kids and their parents bow fishing, and, you know, a lot of people are like, Marissa, you do so great with kids. But honestly, as terrible as it sounds, when I first started, my boyfriend kind of treated me like a kid at bow fishing. He was like, hey, look, if you're going to do it, you need to do it this way. But I'm thankful for that, because I wouldn't have been the aggressive bow fisherman that I was when we started it.
Right.
It made me more successful, because he is 12 years older than me, and, you know, that is a big difference. But as we go out through our hunting and our fishing adventures that we do, it gives me guidance. And then when I do it and it's successful, it's like, oh, yeah.
Right. Yes, that's good. You know? Right on. So, I know exactly what you're going at. Yeah, heck yeah. And that feels good. And again, it just goes back to all that work. It takes that work to make that success. It just doesn't happen. And on top of it does, you're just not going to appreciate it as much.
And it really does. And like, not trying to get off the hunting, but back to the hunting, you know, as we were talking about women or even young hunters or new hunters going out to the stands, it's very important that no matter what they're wearing or what they're using, they should not be discouraged, because I've heard that a lot. Oh, well, you got to wear this, or you have to use this. And no, that's not the fact. Or, hey, you know, if deer can smell your makeup. And I'm like, no, they can't. Absolutely not. Like, no, I don't believe that. You know, I get ready for work, and yes, I put on my makeup before I go to work. So when I get ready to go to the stand, if I'm hunting before I go to work, I have my makeup on, whether I'm 20 yards away with a bow or 300 yards away with a rifle. And the night that I had my first bow kill, I had on makeup. And,
right on.
You know, women wear makeup. It's not a big deal. It's not something that's going to throw the deer off. Either they're going to come in or they're not.
I could swear I've seen some people put some camouflage on their face when they go hunting.
Right.
So, you know, to me, I'm here nor there on it. I'm really not. And if you're wearing blaze orange and gets like that, all that goes. I mean, when I was a kid and I was initially like hunting out in West Texas and stuff, we wore blue jeans and whatever shirt we were wearing. There was no Texas a little different. I mean, I had to adjust at a deer stand because I got back in hunting about 3 years ago, a long period of not. And the deer stand, I'll be honest with you, I'm still adjusting to it. But it's different in that aspect.
Well, you know, and some people say, oh, well, you can't go in blue jeans, or you can't.
You absolutely can.
You know, some people live by that, and that's not the truth. You know, say if you did not have hunting gear, you did not have the proper camo. I don't believe in that, which I've never tried to hunt in blue jeans, but my boyfriend has told me stories where, hey, I've hunted in blue jeans in a camo shirt. I've killed deer.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can. So it really, that was one thing that discouraged me a lot as a hunter is I have to have this. I have to have this. I have to have top of the line. And then I realized, you know, no, you don't. If you say you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're a full-time mom, or you're a full-time dad, or you're a single mom or a single dad, and you love the outdoors and you go hunt. And so this is the money that you have to use on hunting, and this is the cost that you can spend on your gear. I've spent maybe $30 maybe up to 80 on my full hunting gear, harness and all.
Right.
By going it by sales and all this stuff. Like, it's not inexpensive. You don't have to have the most expensive gear to get what you're going for, because this year was the greatest year for me. And my gear is mixed matched. It's not, I hunt with this year, what I've hunted in was, like I said, the Habit Real Tree Edge pants that I got. I think I got them from Walmart, or I got them off Amazon for like $20 or $30 on sale. Then I got my hunting gear, my hoodie. That's a very lightweight hoodie from Sierra Trading Post, which is a good post if anybody wants to go find some good deals. Just throwing that out there for hunting gear. For duck hunting or deer hunting, they have some awesome deals there. And it's really great because, I think that's what expresses you when you finally get to that moment is, you know what? It's not all that expensive stuff. It's not all that. When you finally hit that moment, it's the time you put into it. And you know what? Your gear wasn't that expensive. It was cheap. And because you put the time in the stand and you waited for that moment, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. Yes, it should match. Not saying you should go out there wearing white and black or, it does matter.
Right.
But, going out there, it does matter what you wear. But as long as the similarity is to the tree that you're sitting on, which, like I said, I hunt on a poplar tree, which has no leaves by the end of bow season or the mid of bow season, which I still sit through anyway. As long as you're there and you put the time in, when you finally get that moment is what matters. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. Oh, you got to have this expensive
right.
stuff. You got to try this. You got to try that. My boyfriend doesn't even believe in, you should. He always told me, don't use doe urine. Don't use buck scrape. Don't use, no. Well, this year I decided to use buck scrape. I decided to use the Active Scrape, the Scent Reflex, from Wildlife Research Center, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try a 72-hour buck trip, and we're just going to try it. So I started that Thursday. Well, that Saturday came, and he said, hey, babe, you know what? I want to put my daughter in your stand. I said, that's okay. I said, put her there because I know she's going to kill one. I've got faith in it. She actually shot her first 8-pointer this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Her first buck was an 8-pointer. She shot the one that I wanted called Elliot. We actually named him. I've never named a deer. I've never named a deer on camera, and she shot him Elliot.
Oh, that is awesome.
And that morning we walked out because usually if you don't see our deer by 8:30, then you're done. You're not going to see one. So I walked in at 8:30. I walked and got her. And at like 8:49, we walked back up and we looked back and there was a deer at the camera. I said, okay, it's okay. I'm sorry I ruined your hunt. We'll try again this evening. Obviously, there's a buck right there. And this was through muzzleloader.
Right.
And
wow.
Later that night, I said, okay, you know what? You done worked so hard on your stand, but you're going to let your stepdaughter sit in your stand and she's going to get her first buck and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And so that night, I heard a shot down the hill and I'm sitting on top of the hill and I'm like, okay. I heard a shoot. I heard a shot. And I'm pretty sure that was her shot. Well, then I heard another shot down the left side of the hill, which was where my boyfriend was sitting. And I was like, okay, I've done heard both of them shoot. Surely to goodness, I'm going to shoot. Well, just like you see on TV, like you said, here came a spike, here come a 4-pointer, here come this big 8-pointer. I couldn't get a good shot. And so I just sat there and I waited all night till it got to dark. And they already made their shots. They already went and found their deer, except for her, because he knew that she hit hers really good. So he waited till I got there so we could share that moment together.
That is awesome.
So they came up the hill. They got me. We went back down. We got his deer. Again, it wasn't a big buck. We're meat hunters, and I think that is what makes you successful. Like we said, a lot of people are a trophy hunter. Well, we live off the meat. We love it. We love deer meat. It's a penchant to us, and we love it. And so we went down and we hunted and we tracked the blood trail, and she saw it. And she was like, it was big. Whatever it was I shot, I know it was big. And I said, okay, well, let's just keep going. And so we kept going, and we finally got there, and she started crying, bawling. I'm talking about straight up crying, tears dropping off her chin. Great moment for a child. And, you know, she's hunted with us for about 4 years now. And we've hunted together as a family. So we got there, and I said, Bailey, you don't understand. She said, no, I know it's big. I said, no, that is Elliot. She said, oh, no, I shot your deer. I said, no, it's okay. I said, it's okay. I said, what I'm excited for is that the deer scrape worked, because this is a deer that I had only night pictures of. So I do recommend using an active scrape, making your own mock scrapes, which is the first time I've used it this year. It was a nice 8-pointer. I'll be happy to share pictures with them. But it was a nice 8-pointer in her first buck for her. But I'm a firm believer that it was the active scrape, because I have only night pictures of this deer. Right before morning and right after dark. I did not have a single picture of the daytime. And when she finally got him, I said, yes, I knew it was it.
That is awesome. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. It was great. It was absolutely great, because I'm so happy that she finally got it this year. And, you know, my son hunts with us, and he hasn't got one yet, but he knows the excitement in it. And, you know, it discouraged him a little bit that he hasn't got one yet, but I keep telling him, just wait for that moment. I've waited 5 years for my moment.
Right.
It will happen. You just have to put the time in.
And for you to be that example, and to be a mom, and it's just a great story, Marissa. And I'm so appreciative that you're able to share this with us. And the other things knew nothing about. So just background for y'all. I mean, I literally hit Marissa up after I read her story in that North Carolina Hunters group. And then we had a little bit of a pause when we talked a couple times, like through email or Facebook. And so I really didn't know her full background. So as you're hearing this, I'm hearing some of this too, but there's so much more. You're so humble, and, you know, just things that you kind of do. But you are someone that definitely, I think many, can look to and resource, and can look as an example to get out there, get outside, and know they can find the time to do these things. And there's such enjoyment in it, and you can balance the job and the family. I mean, just a great story, Marissa. Thank you so much for coming on.
And I greatly appreciate for having me. I hope that my story, you know, it shares, and that there's other women, or men, like I said, whether you're a single mom, a single father, or you hunt together. And, you know, like I said, my boyfriend, who I've been with for 6 years, he's pretty much my spouse, but he had pneumonia the last 4 weeks of deer season. And I said, hey, you know what, babe? I got this. If you just can bear with the kids, well, before and after work, we got this.
There you go.
I believe you hunt together as a family, you know, and he believes in that. And you got to have that. You have to have someone to back you behind the whole way. And I'm a very aggressive hunter, and he knows that. And, you know, rifle season is his season. But, you know, this year he was sick with COVID and pneumonia, and it's been a really hard year for everybody. But, you know, no matter what you're going through and the time you put in, it really can make a great successful moment for anyone. And I just want people to know that, and to share my story. I hope that it guides people, because, like I said, you don't have to have the expensive gear. You don't. My gear's not expensive. I think boots, coveralls, and everything, I might have $230 in it, and that's over the past 4 years. It's not expensive. It may not match correctly, but you know what? It got the job done this year. I put the time in the past 5 years, and being able to watch the deer when they come in, how they move. My first bow kill, they didn't even come in the direction that I thought they were going to come in, so it threw me off guard. But I got it done. My boyfriend was out of town. I ended up cleaning the deer by myself, which I do usually when I take a harvest. But I want everyone to know out there, no matter what you're doing, don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged because you don't have the $600 gear that you're supposed to have, or, you hear stories of this and that. Try your own thing. The guy that does my beef jerky is called Joe's Jerky, and he does an amazing job on deer jerky. But he always told me, you know what, Marissa, if you believe in it, then you do it. And if it happens, it'll happen. And that's what I've carried with me for the past 4 years after my first year of hunting. And I've just tried so many doe urines or buck. And this year I tried the buck scrape, which I thought for sure was amazing for me, and it worked. So I'm going to continue to do it next year. But don't be discouraged because you feel like I make this amount of money, but I can't put this much into hunting.
I love it. I love it.
It doesn't take that much as long as you put the time into it. I promise you can succeed with it.
So one last time, Marissa, if people want to find you, like all your plugs, like all the different things you do, the commercial fishing, the Instagram, wherever it is where people can reach out and connect with you, where are those places again?
Marissa Godfrey on Facebook. I will update you in a bio on my Instagram so you can add it to this link.
Heck yeah.
I also do TikTok, which I'm not big on right now. I'm just now learning it, but I know it's a big thing, so hopefully it'll be a blast, posting videos and stuff. But I greatly appreciate you having me today and being able to share my experience, because I feel like it can help a lot of individuals, especially out there, okay, I don't have this much money to spend on this, but I have it on this, and you can do it with that. And I just thank you so much for having me. I really do, because I feel like a lot of hunters need that. It's not all that in a bag of chips like everybody says it is. It's a lot of hard work, and it doesn't matter what you wear. As long as it works for you and you can get it done, at the end of the day, no matter how hard you work, whether you're hunting before work or after work, or, you're cleaning a deer before supper, whether you're a man or a woman, it's the success in that hunt that counts after all that time is put into it, and that's really what matters.
Marissa, the honor's all mine to have you on. I truly appreciate you making the time with your busy schedule. And I definitely wouldn't have caught you in deer season, but I'm glad I caught you now.
The Cup of Joe segment is brought to you by Seastate Coffee. Have you ever actually drank good coffee? Stop wasting your money on old, stale coffee from the store and make the switch to Seastate Coffee. Seastate Coffee is a United States Marine Corps veteran-owned and operated roastery, selling premium coffee that's roasted on order and delivered fresh to you. Order your coffee today at www.seastatecoffee.com.
Man, so Chuck, what did you think of that interview, man?
I mean, that was a good one. It was super interesting, and it's kind of you don't get to hear the female perspective very often.
Marissa, I what I loved about her, and to me, I'll even say at this point of it, take the male female out of it, and just look at this as purely as a hunter. The preparation, the commitment, the support, right, all the things it took, and just the passion. And I think really when you look at anything you want to be successful at, it really comes down to what level of commitment are you going to have with it, and then what level of discipline are you going to apply going for it. And I mean, right, It was just amazing the things that she shared with us, man.
Right. Well, and that's one thing with being involved in a lot of R3 stuff and a lot of hunter mentorship things. The biggest hurdle as an adult hunter to get into it is having someone to mentor you.
Right.
And so for her to have that consistent person there in her boyfriend to mentor her and to get her into it and to keep her focused, I think that's a big driver in people sticking with it. Now, unfortunately, not everybody can track down that mentor. There's a couple new organizations in North Carolina that are offering that, which I think are super great resources, and we can kind of talk about those a little bit later. But you also, on the other side of the coin, that new hunter needs to come to it with the motivation and the ambition to be a self-starter. Because I can tell you, not necessarily from like my experience, because I'm not taking people under my wing for like a whole season. I'm doing like one-off teachings and things like that. But like from my experience and talking to people that do take folks under their wing, their job is more difficult when they're the one that's having to force that new hunter to get out and about. It's like, I'm taking time out of what I want to do more than anything to help you. So you need to put forth just as much effort trying to learn as I am trying to teach you. And I think she did a great job of explaining that that's what she does and how committed she is to it and everything. And I think that's one thing a lot of new hunters can take away from that. It's to be committed. You don't need to be going hunting every morning before work and hunting every 30 or hour that you can. If you want to, that's fantastic. But on the other side of it, like, don't say I want to hunt, but then expect people to be calling you to get you up off the couch. Like when you do want to go to hunt, say you want to hunt every other weekend or something, like, and you have a mentor, let them know, call them up, say, hey, I want to go this weekend. I'd like to go scouting. When you got something coming up, let me go with you, and reach out and make those connections. I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. And,
as far as being able to find those mentors.
Yeah. And the fact that like her family, was so supportive. She talked about the close family member that she had a huge impact on her. She spoke about, getting her boyfriend, hey, can you put some corn out? And then also just the things that she was willing to try things. That's also what I loved about this too. She's like, hey, I know, I go out and I was going to use this stuff and, people said, don't use it. She would just try it. Hey, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And she now has kind of the things that she feels comfortable with, that she applies and has some good success with that. And I love that she's open to new ideas and she's willing to share the information too with others. Like she just gave me a laundry list of stuff. Hey, and also this, it was on a budget. I mean, this was not like going out and buying, the high end dollar things and you feel that that's what's going to get you success. I think it's the application and understanding the animal that you're pursuing. She had a very good understanding of the field she was going at and with what she was pursuing. And, if something doesn't work, she changed it up. It was just awesome to hear all that. There's so many lessons and things that I would say it's not even just new hunters, that I would say experienced hunters sometimes need to hear, because if you really apply the basics, you're going to have success.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can overcomplicate it. You can also oversimplify it, but I think particularly with experienced hunters, I think you can overcomplicate things and think too much and just take a clear and coherent approach and have a plan when you go about it and make the changes that are necessary. Definitely goes a long way. But yeah, it can be very easy to go into it, particularly like when you get into it with clothes. Realistically, at the end of the day, clothes don't matter. The clothes that I spend money on, I'm not particularly buying them for deer hunting. I'm buying them for backpacking. I'm buying them for going out west and hunting. I'm buying them to stay dry when I know I'm going to be in severe weather or when I'm going to be camping or something like that, something I can double up. That's the clothes I spend money on. In terms of deer hunting and turkey hunting clothes, I'm just like her. I'm going to Academy. I'm buying stuff on sale. If its primary purpose is to serve as camouflage, I'm not going to spend a ton of money on it.
Right. I'm with you. I mean, I have those things where I need camouflage, but comfort, warmth, being dry and being light too. Just like last weekend, I went turkey hunting. In the morning, it was 28 degrees. In the afternoon, it was like 70 some degrees, man. So being able to transition to the applicable wear, because I sure as heck didn't wear what I wore in the morning in the afternoon. That didn't happen.
Right. And I think with that approach, because I'm like you, if I'm going out, especially during turkey season, there's a lot of shifting in the temperature pretty quick, and I'm going out and I've got in my cold gear, I've got a $250 jacket and a $200 pair of pants that packs down to the size of a Nalgene bottle, but I can buy that because I got on a pair of $10 camouflage pants and a $7.99 long sleeve shirt from Academy. You know what I'm saying? So there's a give and a take. And I think to spend the money on the stuff that serves more of a purpose than just camouflage.
Right.
And skimp out where you can, because it really is. It's all marketing at the end of the day. She brought up a good point, like about a poplar tree. I like to hunt in clumps of pines and stuff if I can. A lot of times around here where I'm hunting, it is difficult. You got to get in the hardwood. By the time the rut rolls around, there's no leaves on the tree.
Right.
Does camouflage make that much of a difference? Probably not. The biggest difference is exactly like she said when she said, be still.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're wearing. As long as the deer's not looking at you, he's not going to see you.
Yeah, they're focused on food, and they just kind of look around, and I totally agree with that, because there's, so early in last deer season, I had a lot. Probably a lot. It's not. I'm a little exaggerating, but I had some very good opportunities to take out some does early in the season. And I mean, I was very exposed, but there they were, and I was like, "Nah, I'm going to wait," And you and I had these discussions, and I tell you what, later in the season, I was like, "Man, I should have took one of those does." Yeah. So, but true. I mean, I was right there, and I felt like they were looking right at me. They didn't care I was there, and I had my bow up, and I'm just kind of looking, just kind of like if I was sighting in to see, how that would work, and yeah, they were right there, they were present, but I was like, they're little. I'm going to let them go. But that they could have made a couple of good burgers.
Yeah, I shot a couple for myself last year. I don't particularly discriminate. So, but yeah, with her approach and being patient and all, the one thing she wanted to talk about, she finally got her big buck, and I know at the end of the day, for the most part, we're all meat hunters. And I know what she means when she says she's a meat hunter. She's prioritizing the freezer. She's prioritizing the freezer over the antlers, just like I do. If it's late in the year, I've got a buck tag to burn. I need some meat in the freezer. I'm still shooting a spike. But to finally, after 5 years, to get that big deer, it's always special. It's one you never forget. You don't ever forget any of them, but that first one tends to stick out. You remember the emotions.
Oh yeah,
a lot
and you could hear it through her voice and just how it was just really amazing to. And I mean I kind of felt like I was back in that moment with her, and we were all able to share that with her, and I'm so appreciative she was willing to share her story there, and I loved. Just, we talked about being, and she was actually, we hunt for meat and all that, but she also donated, like she would hunt and donate to families that necessarily were able to provide that for themselves, and just being that level of hunter as well. Like, hey, you know what, if I have some success and I got some extra, meat to spare, and I'm able to do that. Just a phenomenal hunter. And yes, it's great to hear, her perspective as a female hunter, but I think for any hunter in general, there's just a bunch that they can take and learn from Marissa, and she's just a great ambassador to hunters overall.
Right. Well, and that's why, and I'm glad you said that, instead from a female hunter and the female perspective, but not just that, but as a hunter. Because that's one of the reasons, like, I'm not a fan of the term huntress for in terms of me saying it. If you want to call yourself a huntress, that's on you. But I'm not going to tell, if that's how you feel, which is fantastic. I would never call, like, my wife a huntress. My wife's a hunter. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's no different than me. Right. And I don't think there needs to be a distinction made. If you view yourself like that, that's totally fine. Like, I don't have any issues with it, but I almost feel like if I was to call someone a huntress, it's almost derogatory coming out of my mouth, is how I see it. You know what I'm saying?
I want to remember if I called her a huntress or not. I know what? I'm pretty sure I called another one of our guests a huntress. But I say it with love.
Well,
though.
She called herself that, which is
because I know it came up. Yeah.
She called herself that, which was totally fine. Like, I don't have any issues with somebody referring to themselves as a huntress. But, like, if I'm going to say, if it's some person that I don't know, let's say,
right,
I've never had a conversation with the woman, but I know she hunts, I'd be like, yeah, she's a hunter, or yeah she hunts. I'm not going to say like, yeah, she's a huntress. Like, I get the waiter, waitress, all that, and we do have it. But to me, it's one thing to where I just don't draw a distinction between the two when sex is involved. It's like, you're a hunter or you're not a hunter. I could be totally off base and I could be totally wrong. So if anybody feels like I am and they
I get what you're saying, man.
My argument, that's fantastic.
I think it's really just comes down to the application. If you're saying it to be degrading, it's one thing. Because I know, like, I think Michelle Wahlberg, like the gal up in Canada that was on Alone season 6 that was able to interview.
Yep.
She's a straight up badass, and she totally called herself a huntress, and she'll out hunt most people I know. But I think that's a great point though, is how you're applying it. If you're being derogatory, if you're just trying to belittle someone, because I mean, and off-roading people do that with rigs and stuff. Oh, you just got 33s, why don't you have 35? Like, really, dude? You got a 4x4, they're happy. It really doesn't matter. But I get what you're saying though. The theme of what you're saying and that, and in the sense that, hey, when we're out there, we're all equal. We're things we can learn from each other.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make. I don't want to ever. I wouldn't. To me, I just don't want it to come across that I'm saying, yeah, you're kind of the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're a woman who hunts. You're a hunter. That's kind of like full stop. You know what I'm saying? And two, I'm probably really jaded because I keep up with like a lot of Instagram BS around hunters and stuff. And I'm going to tell you the women on there that are calling themselves huntresses they're not Marissa. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not out there hunting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
If they are, I hate to generalize, but they're doing it for the gram. It's a lot of canned stuff. It's a lot of self promotion, and so I put a connotation with that word as well. So it's like,
totally get you, dude. They're like, the brand ambassador, the hey, look at my picture. I totally get it. I understand it. You have that in the wheeling crowd too, with a bunch of fake wrenching. You have like somebody inside of a engine block, and they get a picture and they got a bunch of likes because they're a pretty person or something like that. But it's really more about what they look like versus the theme of what they're trying to present. And people actually like Marissa who are out there, going through the entire trade craft of hunting and learning and applying and making those sacrifices and all those different things that she's doing. And that's why I feel, like I said, she's a great ambassador to the sport and
doing
everything.
Doing it on her own,
man.
Doing it without a camera around. Yep.
Right, dude. It is just great. And I so enjoyed this interview. Absolutely, I would say top 3 interviews that I had so far on this podcast. Very special, and I really wanted to honor it. And I learned a lot, and it's one of those that I think I would always go back to. Like if I ever got in kind of a rut where I'm like, oh God, like just have a horrible deer season, or I'm just not like feeling it. I think it's one of those interviews you can go back to and get re-energized, recharged, and reset with.
Yeah, no, it was a good one, man. And it's nice to hear the conversation.
Yeah, man. And Marissa,
it's natural that way.
And Marissa, this is not I hope you understand that this is not us like just putting you up on a pedestal. We truly have just mad respect for you. It's not one of those things at all. I actually called her before the show and let her know that, hey, we're gonna go ahead and put it out tonight, because I did this interview back in I want to say January, and I was just kind of holding on to it. Did a couple other interviews I got to get out, but I really, like I said, I just want this one to be kind of special, and you being here and us being able to discuss it a little bit and bring it out. I think it gives it that honor that I think it needs. And you have a lot. She's actually going out on her first turkey hunt this weekend.
So,
Oh, really?
Yep, she totally is. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. She did say that she went out with her son last weekend, and they the gobbler got spooked. They had one and it kind of like lined up, and then something happened. It got spooked, and so it took off. And anyways, when turkey hunting knows, and once they get spooked, yeah, it's gone. It's gone. So yeah, totally understand. Every turkey hunters has been there, but yeah, she's going to go out and doing that. And I think too is just the fact she very much her and her boyfriend, kind of like they go out and do charters and stuff. I actually told her that I would love to probably get a hold of her and her boyfriend and potentially go out and do a fishing trip with them, man. I think that would be super cool, and do a follow-up with them and stuff. But yeah, Marissa, I want you to know that this was something awesome, and I'm hoping the listeners get something out of it, because if you're thinking about getting in hunting, or if you are somebody that has been hunting for decades, again, I think there's something you can learn, and things that you can pull from what Marissa is sharing. And, again, maybe kind of get re-energized, because it's not all, and I would say this, what I love about it too is, we talked a lot about deer hunting, but it's not all about, being just a deer hunter. It's about being a hunter in general. If you just take those basics that she applied and, to say deer hunting, and you put it into whatever game you're going after, I think you're going to be successful.
Yep, for sure. And you talking about the new hunters, I'll kind of circle back to something I mentioned a while ago and go into a little bit more detail. So there's a couple groups that I'd say been working with. They've been doing a lot of work with some other groups that I'm involved in. One is New Hill Educational Center. I believe that's what it is. For right now, that's what we're going to stick with while I check on Facebook real quick just to verify. And another one is Opportunity Outdoors. The New Hill Educational Center is something that you kind of need to look into. They're essentially have built a program to where they have almost set up, for lack of a better description, like a hunting university with like classroom stuff, and they're doing webinars, and they're doing just an insane amount of effort that they're putting into the education of new hunters. They're offering hunts. They're doing as much as they can, and they're covering everything: turkey hunting, deer hunting. They're expanding it out into small game, things like that. And the other one, Opportunity Outdoors, who these two groups work together. They're separate entities, but they do work together, and they do put on programs together. But Opportunity Outdoors are two guys. They're actually North Carolina Backcountry Hunters and Angler members. They helped out at a North Carolina Wildlife Getting Started Outdoors event up at NC State. So they decided, hey, there needs to be more. And I've talked about it on previous podcasts, I'm pretty sure. The GSO does one day in the classroom and one day in hunting. Realistically, it's not enough.
Right.
But realistically, at the same time, folks like me and folks at Wildlife can't do much beyond the GSO. If realistically, for me, like if I'm going to take you out and mentor you, you may get 1 or 2 more days. Opportunity Outdoors, they've set up a program to where their objective outside of attending classes and promoting classes and education through webinars and things like that, they have set up their system, and their goal is to link mentors and mentees together. And
right
to get
on.
folks out and about in the field.
Yeah.
So anybody that's interested in becoming a mentor or a mentee, that's something great to look at. If you've got the time to dedicate and to put into it and to help folks out, there are different levels, different amounts of time commitments and things like that, mutual beneficial relationships in terms of the returns that you're getting out of it on both sides. So those are two that I encourage folks to look at if they're interested in the area. Both of them are around Raleigh. It's actually New Hill Hunter Education and Mentor Program on Facebook.
Yeah, make sure that we get those links, Chucks, and I'll make sure to put those in the show notes. That's awesome. And I know that North Carolina Wildlife was really limited because they had a lot of in-person seminars they would do, but then when COVID hit, and I'm the same way, man. Like I'll be honest, I did a lot of the cert stuff, like online stuff. It's just not the same, dude. You don't have the same energy level and knowledge, and it's just not the same. It is not. So you're able to get out with somebody and kind of get that guide. We
were able to do an event last fall here in Gastonia with the Resources Commission and do a GSO for whitetail, just like we did last year. We were COVID safe in the education. We were COVID safe in the hunting day. We went through the trouble, us as a group at Gaston Paul's. We put up extra tree stands so mentors and mentees weren't in the same tree together, and it worked and it was great, But my big thing with the GSO and wildlife, NC Wildlife, they're going to be honest with you about the program. They're not holding hands. They're using it as like a jump starter and to give you the basics.
Right.
So they're really relying on the folks that come to be self-starters. Now, whether that's a self-starter and finding a mentor or just running out into the woods and hunting for more to go. And I think that's where New Hill and Opportunity Outdoors, they're filling the gap because they're working in conjunction with the Resource Commission as a quote-unquote partner. So they're filling that gap, and they're trying to extend out the opportunities for folks in order to get those people over the hump and to start filling in some gaps and start answering questions that these folks that are showing up to GSO didn't even know to ask at the time of the GSO.
Right.
And then after a couple hunts, they're asking questions because they've seen more stuff. And it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I should ask a question about this or that. So, and I think those two sources are fantastic, and those are something folks should reach out to. Opportunity Outdoors has recently expanded, though, to the Northeast. So they have Opportunity Outdoors Northeast on Facebook and Instagram as well. And they're putting together a team up there because that's where one of the guys is, I believe, originally from Wisconsin. Andy's originally from Wisconsin, I think. But Evan from Opportunity Outdoors is a New Yorker, upstate New York, and has moved down here and been down here for a while. But he's still got connections up there, and they're able to start establishing stuff up there, getting some folks into the woods with that. So.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's I tell you, it is great to hear about that. And you know what? I think too, it's we gotta be honest. If talk is cheap. If you want to get into hunting, if this is something you want to do, the help is there, but you have to do the action. You have to get off that couch. You have to connect, and you have to commit. I mean, that's the other thing. These are volunteers, and my son's in Civil Air Patrol, and I always remind him that all these people that are committing their time to you who are investing in you to improve yourself and develop and become a great young man. These are all volunteers, and you need to respect that. So if you're not going to commit, if you're just going there to think, hey, I'm going to get in the stand, and 30 minutes later, I'm going to get the biggest buck ever, you're probably going there for the wrong reason. And you're probably not going to be a good ambassador to the sport or to hunters in general. It's just not really what it's about. And I think you're missing an opportunity to become probably, I would say, like, there's so many lessons you learn in hunting that really make you, I think, a better person in so many different ways. And I think those are things that are always missed out in messaging when people talk about hunting. Just that, like, patience is a good one, being able to learn patience and being able to understand failure and being okay with that and being able to pick yourself up and go back out into it and look for success and then also humility. I know there's some hunters that aren't humble out there. You see a lot of them on shows and stuff, but I tell you what, some of the hunters I have taken the most from have been the most humble people. And I would say two of them right now would be Chuck and definitely Marissa, like just the humility. And those are people you really want to listen to right there. So there's so many great lessons to make you a better person when you get into hunter and you act into the hunt life and you actually involve yourself into it.
Right. Yep. And I touched on it earlier, but if it's something that you're wanting to do and you want to become a hunter and you're going to rely on a mentor-mentee relationship and you're a mentee in this, you need to this is my opinion, and I try to be really honest with them. But at the end of the day, you're somewhat taking time away from someone else's free time.
Right.
That they care enough about it and they want to show you. If they volunteer to do it, they want to do it. But I think you need to return that respect, and you need to learn some of the unwritten rules of hunting. Don't steal people's spots, things like that, etc. But just help out when you can. Offer to help on land maintenance, things like that. But at the end of the day, you have to be motivated to learn. And I think that if that's all a lot of mentors are asking is to be motivated to learn, because realistically, like the Opportunity Outdoors, they've got folks beating down their door wanting to learn. And so if you're not putting forth the initiative to learn, realistically, I mean, honestly, spots get filled because the mentors are just few and far between, and that's across the board. That's just not Opportunity Outdoors. So I think if somebody gives you the opportunity to show you the ropes,
right,
you need to reciprocate some respect and things like that to keep them, to keep their desire there to help out. And I don't mean that negatively, and I'm not saying that folks getting into it are lazy or anything. That's just a little piece of advice. That's something that I think like some new folks may not necessarily think about from the standpoint of it's not just the hunting. It's the fact that whoever's teaching you is taking free time away, and you need to kind of act accordingly and be appreciative and be self-motivated. And if I take somebody out hunting and I've taken them out 2-3 times or whatever, which at the end of the day, after 2 or 3 hunts, they still haven't learned anything. And that's not saying that's not them. It's just the nature of hunting. It's the nuance and the variables are infinite, and you're just never going to learn everything.
Right.
But if I've taken somebody out and I've talked to them a couple of times, and then they give me a call and they went hunting by themselves, you know what I'm saying? It's
right.
Like, okay, like you're taking the initiative. You're not relying on me, and you're not. And that's the type of person that's going to end up getting more mentorship and like earning more respect. And at the end of the day, when you do it all your own, it's also going to be a lot more fulfilling.
Right. And there's so much information, like North Carolina wildlife, but you don't have to even limit yourself to the state wildlife. I mean, I go to Missouri, the state of Missouri, their wildlife management, website sometimes, and learn some things and whatnot. So you don't have to limit yourself there. And I love the theme you kind of put there about someone taking that time out. Cause I tell you what, I went back to the, Enduring Gratitude event. Every year I go to this in February up at Snow Camp, North Carolina, and there's you shoot all the clay targets, and then you half a day doing that, and half a day going out shooting pheasants in a field and doing a pheasant hunt.
Right,
dude, it was a brutal day. It was brutal. It was like, no kidding, like sleet, like ice all around anything that was a branch. It was like just a wet, rainy, cold day. A good chunk of people did not show up, and it was very prevalent. But they still put the thing on. They're like, hey, rain or shine, we're going to do it. And the reality is, like, some people are like, it's too cold, I'm not going to do it. Then, why'd you sign up? They literally say it's a rain or shine event. And, you're not always, and the reality is sometimes you don't have the perfect conditions when you go hunting. I didn't think it was going to be 28 degrees when I went hunting. My son I'd let him know that we're going hunting, and it's cold this morning. Yeah. Let's just put some stuff on and we're going to get out there. So I think that's the truth. And I've loved that. If you guys want to, research, I've probably mentioned it on like half the podcasts I've have here. Enduring Gratitude up at Snow Camp. It's a great organization that does a lot of things for veterans, and they put an amazing thing. You don't pay anything. They take care of everything that you need to have a wonderful time up there. And I was pretty disappointed when a good chunk of people didn't show up just because it was crappy weather. But you know what? I was still sitting in the land of the free, and I was around some, brothers and sisters, and, we had fun with it. So that's really what that day's about. And I enjoyed it. Oh yeah. You know what? One thing I forgot to tell you. Well, I probably did tell you, but we just never talked about it. But my son got his first deer this last season. It was a button buck, dude. I thought it was a doe. I thought it was a doe. It was like, oh my goodness, man. And you know, it was one of those weird times. So we were hunting, dude. I don't even remember if it was like December or November. I don't even remember. But anyways, we were out there on the coast, and we were out there for like 2.5 days. Didn't see a damn deer or a pig the entire time. It was one of those oddities, man. And it was like a warm weekend. It was like 70 degrees or something. I mean, we had some primo spots, 200-yard shots, you know, like great feed, like just primo. And I was like, holy cow, dude, we didn't see nothing. And then at the last day in the evening, as the sun's going down, here comes this thing walking up. And I was like, oh man, there's a doe. You got to take the shot, man. I'm like, we got to come out with something, man. You got to do it for your dad, man. And it was, I was so happy for him to have that experience. And when we went and got it, it was a button buck, man. It was a button buck. So, I was super excited. Matter. Yeah, man. Yep. I mean, it was a great moment for both of us. And, you know, it just goes back to what you're talking about with that mentorship, you know, as a dad and being able to take knowledge from someone like you and other hunters and, you know, other people who have shared information with me. Cause I wouldn't even consider myself really a hunter until, you know, this last couple of years. I really wouldn't. Like, have I gone hunting? Yes. Right. And all that, but really I wouldn't. I would say, you know what, these last couple of years when I really turned into a hunter, and being able to take that, transfer that knowledge to my son, ensuring that he's safe, him be able to make his own shot, you know, and me to show encouragement, because I can't shoot it for him, if you will, and him able to do that. And dude, it was a beautiful shot. You know, when it did, so he got a piece of the heart, but it went probably, I want to say it went away. It went into the woods about 25 yards and stuff. And I actually did an initial walk around. I didn't find it. And then the guy that runs that property, he came out and he's like, I'll go look real quick. And cause it was already dark by then. And then, he found it. And cause initially he was disappointed, like, oh man, dude, I don't think I got it. It's like, no, man, I think you got it, dude.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a killer moment, you know, and it's, I talk to a lot of parents and stuff, and they all kind of echo what you're saying, and it's a common thread, especially with some of my buddies and people that kind of mentored me growing up that are older than me and they got kids my age and stuff. The common theme is how much more exciting and how much more rewarding it was to watch their kid take their first animal and versus their own. It's like, I'd rather do that 1,000 times over again. Which, man. Because like with me turkey hunting, at the end of the day, I don't care who pulls the trigger because it's just so exciting. But,
gosh, I love turkey
hunting. The kid thing ramps it up.
Yeah, I do. I love the back and forth. Like, even though we didn't get one, I tell you what, my son and I were just big smiles, and we're happy that our friend, you know, his son was able to harvest one, but we were just happy that we got all that back and forth action. I mean, that's what I love about turkey hunting. And I think my son's going to be more of a turkey hunter than a deer hunter when he like grows up into his own, because he's like, yeah, you know, it's just a little bit better than just being in the stand. You know, you got that activity, that banter, and it's kind of like, you know, it's that if you finally get them to where they're playing, they come out and they parade themselves. I mean, I enjoy seeing that part too, man. Like, it's not even just about the harvest and, oh, hey, I got one. Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a point in my life that sometime I'll be like, I'm just going to go out and call turkeys, man, and just enjoy that part.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I tell you, it's the turkey hunting to me, like, it doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't get any better. Like elk hunting last fall was right there with it because of the interaction. The duck hunting's fun because you're getting to talk, you're interacting with the animals and stuff. But to me, the adrenaline pump and the excitement and being able to hunt with somebody and still talk and everything, and you don't have to be super quiet.
Right.
Just when it's on, it is on, and you don't even have to see it for you to get your blood pumping, and the fact that they're gobbling, and especially when they're up in the tree and you don't know where they're going, it doesn't get any better. And I think it's the perfect thing to get a kid into hunting. Everybody always says squirrel hunting, which I get. I totally understand, because you can get up, you can walk, you can move around, high success rate. But I just can't imagine any kid that's remotely interested in hunting sitting in the woods in the dark with a turkey gobbling inside of 100 yards.
I agree, man.
It's just not tearing their nerves up. And I base all that knowing like how kids react to like fire engines. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And stuff that makes noise is what gets a kid's goat and gets them giggling, gets them laughing, gets them excited. And so when that thing's gobbling and it's going crazy and it's going through the woods and you don't know what's going on and they're sitting there and looking for it, to me it's the ultimate like I don't even know the ultimate way to like break the seal for a new hunter, just in general, but kids in particular. You don't have to hunt long. You can call it. You can call it a day. You don't have to wake up early. So yeah, it's awesome.
I make them wake up early. I need to still like go ahead and be that type of dad.
Oh, I do. I'm up early. Like last year, she wanted to sleep in. I was like, sleep in. I'm going. Ended up called in 3 birds. By like 8:30, 9 o'clock, I was done back at the house. She was up. She put on her camouflage. We went back hunting. 10 o'clock, I called in 2 more birds.
Yeah.
So it's an all day thing. I mean, from 10 to 2, as far as I'm concerned, is some prime time. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm getting up early. I'm going, but there's so much flexibility with it. You know, it's a way to get kids into it, I think, and I believe wholeheartedly. If you're gonna introduce a kid to the outdoors, and you're worried about ruining them, which is a worry as a deer hunter. Like, you don't want to take them too young because you don't want them to get bored.
Right.
You don't necessarily want to take them and let them play video games. You don't want them to be cold. You don't want this. So it's got to be like this perfect scenario. And I think turkey hunting is as close as you're going to get to like that perfect scenario.
Yeah.
There's still maybe some chilly mornings, whatever, but
I love that first look. And I think it's a universal look with all hunters of the first gobble, whether you've been working it all day and you haven't heard nothing, all of a sudden you hear it, or you just get into your blind and all of a sudden you just make that first call and you get a return. That first look is always big eyes, kind of smile, open mouth, like, oh my God. And you both just kind of look at each other like, oh, you're so excited. Like, that part alone is worth it, man. Is worth it.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, Chuck, we should probably wrap it up too. We've been going here for a while. Yeah, man. Hey, you're welcome back here anytime. You got an open door, things you got to put out, events you got to promote. If you want to put some news out, hey, feel free, dude. Always an open door. I know you got a very active lifestyle right now. You got, a lot of things that will be coming. So I'm really excited for you. But thank you so much for coming back on for this very special episode. And thank you for just sharing your knowledge again. And we look forward to having you back, man.
Yeah, man. Dude, I super appreciate it. And it's always fun to be on here. I wish I wasn't as busy as I was and I could make it a full-time gig again, but it is what it is. One thing real quick, I kind of do want to plug. Got an event coming up this summer, and if I can.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Plug away.
So with Gaston Paws, which I'm the president of, and as part of the North Carolina Wildlife Federation, we're doing it's called Great Outdoors Family Day. And so long and short of it is we're doing skeet shooting, a turkey shoot, competitive turkey shoot in the afternoon, all kinds of other events like shooting BB guns, axe throwing, silent auction, raffles here in Gastonia. And it's to raise money for not only Gaston Paws, but Bit of Hope Ranch, which is another nonprofit that's kind of they're our neighbor at a farm that we utilize for all of our events. And so what their mission is they do counseling services through the use of horses, essentially, and Christian organization, and really, really good people. And I would love for people to show up and come out to it. Don't get me wrong, but the one thing that I do want to promote is if you can't make it and you don't live in the area, They have recently at Bit of Hope Ranch, there was a vet that showed up with his son, and in discussions with essentially he's one of the owners. When discussing with him, this veteran indicated that veterans still do like to shoot guns. It's not something that they have an aversion to once they come home and whatnot. And got to talking about this event, and he was talking about how awesome it would be and this, that, and other thing. Well, it kind of spawned an idea. Well, the idea that got spawned is we have added the ability for folks to go online, and even say you can't attend the event, you can go online and buy what we've called a veteran's ticket.
Right.
And that ticket will be reserved and given to a veteran and one guest. More than likely, I would assume it would be their child, but be given to a guest for them to come free of charge and to participate and to hang out and take part. So that's if anybody's feeling generous and would like to purchase tickets, it's $50. It goes back to a good cause. Plus, it's also given back to somebody that's done a great service to this country, and I feel that probably deserves it more than anybody. So when you get online to buy the tickets, you'll notice that it requires you to input some information for the attendees. If you just want to enter your own information for each attendee, that would be fine. Add in the notes section, veteran ticket. It'll indicate that it's a veteran ticket, but if you still just want to enter in the notes section, and then we'll make sure to assign that to somebody that's very deserving of it. So.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, make sure I get that link. I'll put it in the show notes, man. This show notes are going to be super long, but that's awesome. I love it. Marissa gave me a bunch of stuff. You're giving me a bunch of stuff, and I love that people can go in and find all these great things in the show notes and reference. Yep. And we'll make sure to, when is that event going to be?
It's May 22nd.
May 22nd. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and kind of due to the nature of it, unfortunately, if it rains, we're set up to be able to do it on the 23rd. But after that, if we're not able to do it, we're just not able to do it, and then we appreciate everyone's generous donation. You know what I'm saying? Check out Bit of Hope's website. Their website is bitofhoperanch.org. That'll be in the show notes as part of the event, because you'll go to their website to purchase tickets. Piedmont Area Wildlife Stewards is our Facebook page. You can go there; it'll direct you to our website and everything. But yeah, man, it's something that we're doing, trying to generate a little bit of money, give back a little bit. We're at Gaston Paul's. We'll get to keep half of the profits, and it'll go towards to support our mission with the Scouts and different conservation projects local to us. But the big driver for me is like, I like what Bit of Hope does, and I don't mind partnering with them and helping them out with an event that kind of falls in our wheelhouse to help them out. So,
yeah, thanks a lot, Chuck. Hey, that's great stuff, and I appreciate it. And again, the door's always open. If there's things and events and whatnot, you can always send me an email. I'll make sure to put a plug into the show as well. So, hey, thanks for being on here, man. And thanks for staying in touch, and we'll see you again.
For sure, brother. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Thanks for listening to the Route 16 Grind. We want to thank NEXEN Tire, Warren Industries, Tuffy Security Products, Power Tank, C-State Coffee, and Route 16 Off-Road for their support. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and more. Just look for Route 16. That's ROOTONESIX. Or just go to Route16.com. Until next week, plan smart, be safe, and always be prepared.
Going to get me that turkey.